Hi everyone. Today is going to be a review for an adaptation of a book that I loved. I literally just finished yesterday morning before I went to work. And this video is going to be based around the Goosebumps episode review for You Can't Scare Me, Season 2, Episode 7, premiered on October 5th, 1996, according to IMDb. Read the book yesterday, and it was amazing. One of my favorite Goosebumps books of all time. Probably one of the scariest Goosebumps books, frankly. And I don't know what went wrong. I don't know what they were thinking. I wish I had an explanation. I don't. Now, to clarify, the episode is not an entirely big waste. There are some good things about it. And yet it's so heartbreakingly not good compared to the book, I mean. The episode itself, for the most part, compared to most episodes, is decent. It's just fine. It's as fine can be. And yet I don't love it. I'm really kind of surprised by how good the first portion of it is. It's very faithful to the book for the most part. And then the last third of the episode is just so out there and weird, and it just kind of ruins the tension of the episode. It ruins the creepiness factor of the episode, and what the book was scary all the time, they just kind of polluted with comedy and stuff here. I don't know what they were thinking. It was a bad time to make this episode. You Can't Scare Me. I've never seen this episode. I wanted to after seeing this book, or reading the book the other day, yesterday, finishing it. And it was so great, and I really couldn't not be excited for this episode. Now, to be fair, the episode itself, as faithful as it is, but also at the same time as the differences come along throughout the story, it feels like an R.L. Stine type story. It feels like if you had an alternate version to the original book, it feels like R.L. Stine wrote this episode. Very cool, very interesting. I like the fact that it feels that way. That does not mean it's good. It doesn't. R.L. Stine has failures too. This episode is a surprising show of that. For anybody who doesn't know the story of You Can't Scare Me, basically in this particular adaptation, there are only 2 of the 4 kids that are trying to scare this one girl in their class that they think is always trying to pretend like she's perfect, and she's always kissing the butts of teachers and stuff to try to look like she's a better student than everybody else. She's kind of a show-off and kind of a jerk about it. And the little girl in the episode does a really good job of making it even more snotty and rude. So there is that. Our main characters, instead of having the 2 other girls that were in the story from the book, we just have the main character Eddie and his best friend Hat, which, by the way, in my book review for You Can't Scare Me, I forgot to mention Hat. I don't know why. It's just a kid who wears a hat all the time on top of his head, like a baseball cap, but it's very much more interesting in the book because he's a better character in the book than he is in this episode. The 2 main kids playing Eddie and Hat, I think they're good. The little girl playing Courtney, the bratty, snotty little girl that they want to scare so desperately. She's good. She's trying her best to deal with something that is not very good. And when I say that, I mean the script and probably the directing too. But she does a fine job. I love the costume for the mud monsters. I love the costume. I think it looks so eerie in that great Troll 2 cheesy way that Goosebumps can sometimes feel for the TV episodes and for the books and everything. Feels spot on to the B-movie feel that Goosebumps typically has on this TV show. So I love all those aspects. The music isn't that great in this episode. A lot of the other acting, like for example, there's a teacher here that's supposed to be sharing lunch with one of the kids, the little girl Courtney that's so snotty, offers him food since he forgot his lunch at home. That man cannot act to save his life. He's like a Dave Chappelle show extra. You know, it's like that's what this guy is, basically. He's horrible. He seems like somebody to be in Blade Trinity, basically. The episode had such good atmosphere. It opens up with our main girl, well, not our main girl, but the girl that's so snotty and rude, Courtney, telling the history of the legend of the mud monsters, which is basically this creature that may or may not exist out in the woods outside of this town. They come out once a year, basically. I think the episode stated all this too, but I know for sure the book does. And there's this whole story dealing with what the mud monsters might be. It's not explored too deeply in the actual episode. I think the book does a way, way, way better job, obviously, of telling this story and being so much better than the actual episode here that we're discussing. It's an all-around fantastic book. I couldn't recommend it enough to you, but the episode itself, I don't know how to feel about it. It's not a good change. Especially, like I said, the third act is really what's changed. The third portion of this 21 or 22 minute long episode is really what's changed to be more humorous, whereas the book was scary. I mean, the whole book, almost all the way through, was unnerving, it was uncomfortable, it was scary, it was creepy, it was fun. The TV episode starts out like that for the most part. By the time you get to the finale, it's become so humorous and jokey that it doesn't work that well anymore. And even the solution at the end of the story is just unbearably stupid. I get the humor, I get that kind of Tales from the Crypt type vibe they're trying to pull off with the show, and it doesn't work. It reminds me more in the sense of something like, for example, I love Tales from the Dark Side. Tales from the Dark Side has really horrible episodes every once in a while. It was an 80s anthology type TV show, all standalone episodes, their own stories, kind of like Twilight Zone, kind of like Goosebumps. And it's the same situation there. A lot of the time, more often than not, you have horrible episodes of Tales from the Dark Side, and yet it's fun if you like that kind of entertainment, that kind of horror story stuff. But man, this was bad. This was a really rough adaptation, and yet it's not the worst that I have seen of Goosebumps TV show. And we'll get to that one day. It ain't the worst, though. Easily, it's not the worst. But it's not great or even really good either. Like I said, for the most part, it was good for like 2/3 of this, but then the finale just lost me. Again, if you want a really good version, if you loved this episode growing up, if you loved the design of the mud monsters, that's good for you. But if you're an adult like myself and you've never seen this episode and you're just now seeing it for the first time, and after you just read the amazing book, and then you read this, or you watch this abomination of an amazing book. Again, imagine if the director of Troll 2, the most famous, so bad it's good movie of all time, to me better than Sharknado's franchise, imagine the director of that coming to make a Goosebumps episode and adapting one of the scariest Goosebumps episodes. It feels like Troll 2. I don't even have words to describe how I feel right now. And like, I don't hate the episode. Like I said, it's just, I more am disappointed because of how it was nothing almost like the book itself. It wasn't a good change, like in the Haunted House game, which I just reviewed. I don't know. I'm really kind of bummed out about this, frankly. I don't know what to think. But anyway, folks, when it comes to You Can't Scare Me, this particular episode of the Goosebumps 90s TV show, what are your thoughts on it? Put your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you have to say about it. And if I had to rate this episode, I almost said book, but if I had to rate the episode on a 5-star basis, it's kind of bearing at like a low 3 out of 5 stars. Mainly because it was, for the most part, loyal to the book. And it's not that I'm looking for just loyalty, it's that I'm looking for the atmosphere and the eeriness and creepiness that Goosebumps can offer. And the book certainly offered. And it has it for the most part, and then it ruins it in the third act. Yeah. I'm really kind of bummed out about this. But anyway, it is what it is. I got an amazing book, that's all that really matters. I can reread this amazing book over and over again, and I can watch this lame episode every once in a while. But it's still good for a Goosebumps episode, in my opinion. It's much better than some of the worst ones, and we'll get to those, like I said, one day. One day. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Put them down below on the review, on whether you like my review, whether you like the episode, whether you like the book better. What do you think? I'd love to hear what you have to say. Do you think the Mud Monster should have been in the Goosebumps movies? I would have really loved to have seen them. Definitely. Anyway, may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today, and goodbye.